Yes. Just want to have a little minor um, chat or discussion when it comes to being concerned. I know you probably can't maybe see me because of the light is not. I'm not concerned about that anyhow. Being seen really. It's about being being heard. I was looking at a program in regards to I think she's a lawyer, but she was blind, and she was saying we live in a culture where you are judged by your voice. So I like to consider myself as a voice a voice for a voice um, for humanity. Uh, I realize that character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. Yes, I if anything, represents the my my vibration. Yes, and I could only try to uh, you know present the uh, the energy of that vibration as in the manner and way in which I yes. What Not so much what sparked this point of expression when it comes to concern. And people will say, "Well, what do you have concern about?" I have concern about the manner and way in which we communicate the image that we project in regards to this material world. Yes, great concern about that. I What got me to this point and coming before this screen of uh, of technology is the is a gentleman who had gave me a call. Uh, brother, uh, brother Joe is his name, but he was talking about the how a individual perished and died, and I think they found her body 2 days later. You know, and he felt some kind of way about that. And I have always said that when it comes to um, people transitioning, or any funeral gathering, you know, people are crying out when they are alive, and no one comes to them. But yet, when they are, are laying there unable to move, uh, their spirit has left the body. Then you see a lot of people gather around them. Yes, while you know, they are dead. Yes. So then it led me to a article when it comes to says it was an article of the Indian legend about death, loneliness, and the renewing of the world, and dealing with you know uh, grieving, you know, and I always say that's a or dealing with, I say, dealing with grievances, which is a social learning disability. And I make a case of 3,000 years or so ago, but when agriculture economy was very, people had more ties to the land, and but then there a group of people came in, the upstart Greeks, and people became more material driven. You know, yes. So, but needless to say, um, yes, this grief, uh, that one feels this, and not, and when the brother was talking about there were no one, excuse me, excuse me. 2 days later, they found out that she was dead. In that sense, a level of insensitivity. I take that's a level of insensitivity. Um, uh, we have become more concerned, for our as an individual, and in society as opposed to a collective when it comes to the image, communicating. The image that we are, communicating in this material world. Yes, this grief is known to be a process, and this article says a way a person's new experiences become grounded in reality. Yes. Um, I liken to reality in three ways. One is in the middle of understanding, and the other is communication, and the other one is humanity. Yes, the reality in the way we communicate with understanding as a family, our humanity. Yes. So this become grounded in reality, and he goes on to say, and the person is given hope for the future in a sense of being able to manage the present when it comes to, you know, grieving or experience of grief and and death, which is a reality. Uh, some take it harder than others, but then again, that it really it puts one in a position to rethink and to reflect and to renew. Yes, it is a renewing. Yes, and and the English Bible says the renewing of your mind. It is a renewing in this, and it grounds us in reality, because it is real. Yes, death. But this insensitivity. Um, as I say, society is under a social reconstruction, whereas our feelings are becoming desensitized, our thoughts demoralized, and our thoughts demoralized, and our attitude dehumanized. Yes, and our communication devitalized, activities stabilized, which develop a spirit of apathy. Yes, but in that image, that the person who was living it relinquishes it, and he or she, moves on, as it pertains to um, communicating the image in this material world, and we have to have respect for this material world in which we reside in. Yes, and the thing is, I think that we must not let it master us, but yet master it. And I say that in regards to whatever situation one may be up against. Uh, there are those who are just barely making it, and then there are those who have went through extreme hardships and hard times, Then there are those who are doing well. But the thing is, what's most important is that you must maintain a even kill, a balance, and yes, and holding on to that balance. That means that the material in which one's built his or her humanity on is based on character. Yes, because character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. Yes. So we're going to get feel as though that we are uh, loneliness, get lonely, and we feel as though that we are all by ourselves. Needless to say, there is as a community of every people that we must continue to move forward in spite of any obstacle that may come our way, because society, as the this great concern of how we communicate the image in this material world, we have become so at odds with each other that we are so extreme to a point that we don't know if we go to the left or we don't know if we can go to the right. Either or, it represents a chemical unbalance in the manner and way in which we even interact with one another. So it is a disease. So when someone perishes or dies, we don't know how to respond or know how to react. And some respond differently than others. That's based upon how they were raised, or based upon their particular culture. You know, some mourn more adamantly than others. Some know how to control their emotions more so than others. I think that we in a society in which we live, or how we, and when I say there's great concern, and the great concern is the manner and the way in which we communicate we are trying to project. Now, one thing I realize about an image, more of a reputation to uplift the best of one's humanity. Yes. So that's to be the challenge of how we go about to having a reputation, how to re-elevate that which has fallen, is one's humanity. We know that there were those who came to uplift the fallen humanity. We know one by the name of, it says there, Noble Drew Ali, and there were those, Marcus Garvey. There were those such as the Amadeus Society. There were those such as Ada B. Wells. There were those such as Harriet Tubman. There were those such as Frederick Douglass. There are many people who come, but yet at the same time, due to the desensitization process and the demoralization process and the dehumanization process, there is a disconnect. So therefore, the feelings become desensitized. You see, and then therefore, those who come about trying to do it, they feel as though that they are all alone. And they dealing with this loneliness. Yes. So we have to continue to be clear when it comes to the concern about how and the manner and way in which we communicate the image, the correct image or the proper image, and a clear, precise image in this material world, and have respect for it. And also in this article, it talks about time. Time cannot be bound forever. Uh, One's world will begin to die around one, and if one's only focus is inward and backward, and to relinquish this tightly held image, to give up one's this, and it's like trying to hold on to the past. The past is a reference point. Yes, we have to be clear about that. That the past is not a place of residence; it's just a reference point. So this young girl, she was trying to hold on to this doll, um, and that this doll represents an image that she was trying to hold on to. But one thing I realized, and one thing for sure, somehow the child, she found fortitude and courage to give up that which most precious to her, because she discerned that only if she did so would the world be made right once again. And it was indeed made right, not only for her, but for those around her. Yes, she loved her doll. It had been the repository of all her affections for those she had lost. But in yielding her treasure, she set time free again. And it is in freedom. The world bloomed with beautiful bluebonnets and rain with warming rains. It began to live again. It no longer was the child alone with her grief, but she was in communion with those around her. And that's the thing. Sometimes we have to give up some things and realize that you, once you give those things up, and you realize that you are not alone, then you invite and involve other people in that is around you, and then therefore they could also help you in your grieving. Yes. And she realized that no longer was the child alone with her grief, but she was in communion with those who were around her. Yes. So that is most important, to be in communion with those that are around you. And I say this because I couldn't move on in regards to dealing with a spirit of vexation. Yes. Because one thing I realized, that which is lost is when we take each other's good intentions for granted. And I realized about being vexed. I realized that being vexed is which is marked by or causing or something that is troubling you, such as a feeling, a showing of an irritation or an annoyance or a distress. So there is a distressing call when it comes to the concern that I personally have when it comes to communicating this image of this material world in which we live in. And the image for me is based on character, and character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. Yes, but yet the spirit of vexation, or the spirit of being vexed, if it is irritating you, if it is annoying you, if it is agitating you, if it is making you feel some sense of discomfort, it is a discomfort in your soul, because our soul is not lined up with the mind, because the soul must be satisfied, because the soul sends something to the mind. And if the soul sends that correct signal to the mind, then the soul and the mind become balanced and they become one. But the soul is not satisfied. So it is irritating. It is getting to the mind. It says that most psychological breakdowns, it is due to having phony identities. Yes, it is a way and a manner in which you think that you are, and really you're not. So what we are born of nobility, and we're born with dignity. And the moral traditions of people, of ourselves here in America, such as Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Scarborough, Ida B. Wells. I can go on and on and on. Dr. Du Bois, I can go on and on and on. And those who you may not know, it was to restore the dignity that we were innately inborn with. But yet, somehow or another, as Bob Marley would say, you cannot belittle our integrity. And I may be saying it wrong, but we know I said dignity, but now I'm using integrity. Integrity is your word. And we know what you say and what you tell us isn't right. So through political strategy, You keep us fighting. But yet, we know that that the fight and the struggle is to live a decent, respectable, honorable life where we can really be the model for a greater humanity. And to do this, it hangs on these two balances, if I may say so, is that oneness is stronger than diversity, and unity is stronger than conflict. The key word for me is stronger than. And may our restraint become stronger, and may we be granted joy for our success. I mean, yes, and may we be granted success for our labor, I should say. Recently, this hate psychosis in the climate of of putting people at extreme odds, one with another, as if there is no medium ground, as if we cannot reason from the premise of conversation. All this information, yet where is the transformation? That is the renewing, and that is the renewing of mind, of this great concern for the as it comes to the manner and way which we communicate and the language in which we use to communicate, as it pertains to the image that one is or that is being projected in this material world. And remember, if we come with the correct attitude about any given situation, more than likely we can bring forth a healthy solution to any problem that may come our way. Difficulties can be restored by the correct view of ourselves, the correct view of nature. And may we bring into the completeness the task, the duty, the effort, the time, the energy, and the nature as a pledge, expecting something greater respecting something greater than ourselves. Learn people of the society in which we live. Realize that the human being is insufficient in their completeness, and that is a individual, but yet without connection there is no growth. So the more we connect, the more we grow, the more complete we can become, the more whole and the more healthier. And may we restore the, the dignity, the nobility, the honor, and the integrity of this humanity. Thank you.